Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's session. My name is Tayo Olubade, the founder of LeadGreen Fellowship, and today is going to be another session on this journey. Some of our fellows, I don't know why they are not on the call today, but we are just going to forge ahead so that we don't waste any more time. So, any other person who wants to join, join us on this session. So today I have with us an important guest, a very passionate builder and youth developer. Today we have Ahmad Solomon with us. Let me quickly touch on his profile. Ahmad Solomon is a South African social impact engineer and a development practitioner, passionate about building systems that empower youth and communities to thrive. With over a decade of experience leading social innovation, education, and humanitarian projects, Ahmad bridge policy, practice, and purpose. He currently serves as program manager at Muslim Ants, driving local and international development initiatives while mentoring emerging leaders across Africa. So join me to welcome Ahmad Solomon. Thank you for joining in. We really appreciate you for coming on our session. I know it's been a little bit of time planning this um, um, session with you, and I'm super excited that today you can finally make it on our program. I mean, it's good to have you on our program. You have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Theo, for that wonderful introduction. I'm just going to try and share my screen. Just trying to get to perfect. Excellent. So, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. If I can confirm, you are seeing the first slide. So, as Theo had said, my name is Ahmad Solomon. I am a South African. I live in Cape Town. And I am extremely honored and humbled to be part of this community. I think it's really very, very important to see that young people are using their own time to not only develop themselves, but to also show an interest in the world that is going on around them. I do want to also apologize up front. There are some countries who are part of this I have not noted on here. And so just to make mention of them, Rwanda, Botswana, and Namibia, welcome. And I hope that you can forgive me. Before we started, if I can ask you to introduce yourself and share with us where you're from, country, and
Hi everyone.
good afternoon.
Yeah, Nelly Moren from Nigeria. I'm coordinating Green Relief Advocacy and Empowerment Center. It's a women advocacy group that work with women and campaign against environmental and climate change issue. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. If you aren't able to turn mic, if you prefer, you can put it in the chat
Hello,
as well.
hello, good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
My name is Chidera Praises. I'm from Nigeria. I'm the youth manager for Initiative for Care and Support to the less privileged. We also work with the youth and women and children and advocate for climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent. So I think we'll get started from there. Um, if there are any wishes to introduce themselves, they can do so in the chat. Um, let me just figure out my screen here. Perfect. And so to start off, I think that it is very, very important that as individuals we realize that we are not powerless and we are actually the pulse in change. And you can see there, it's really just everyday small acts that we do today that shapes the world that we inherit tomorrow. And you can see there in our hand we are able to hold something that could potentially grow into a fruit that could potentially sustain a village or even further than that. If I look at some of the countries that we have represented here and really look at what you represent in this contemporary times that we are in now. And we look at Nigeria, there's energy, there's innovation. Uganda, it's really rich with agriculture. Zambia with its forests and mining. Ghana with its coastlines and entrepreneurship. Zimbabwe with its drought and its resilience to that. And you can see there that for many of these countries, there's been lots of development, and you'll see that over time, they've been developed into huge cities. What really has driven this to become these cities is the natural beauty, the natural resources, and the land that was always there. In the recent years, if we look at SDGs, we look at global warming, this very sensitive ecosystem has really come under threat. And when we look at ourselves as young people, as youth and leaders, we've got to stop for a moment and ask ourselves, what is our responsibility and what is our connection to this and what are we able to do? Because I do believe that within each and every one of us, we have the opportunity to be able to contribute towards positive change. What does this look like? And so if we look at the current state of our planet where we are right now, because of fossil fuels, because of the way we have industrialized our cities and the way we make money, the temperatures are rising. And over the last couple of years, we've seen quite a lot of ice caps that are melting. This causes the rising of sea levels. This has an impact on the temperatures, the climate across the globe. And so crops are failing. As a result, crops are now being engineered so that they can withstand. And through them withstanding this, the very delicate balance in nature is being affected. People are having to force moving from where they once settled. The riverbanks are now over flooding. And so it really, really impacts and affects the very basic people and the way that they live. If we look at inequality, South Africa being one of the most unequal countries in the world, this inequality level is deepening. If we look at the way industry is going, with the internet, with technology, there are many people are being left behind. We find ourselves firmly set in the fourth industrial revolution, and we speak about things like digital literacy, digital access. And so this is one of the other problems that we are seeing, and we find ourselves within this. Within this crisis lies the call to reimagine how we can live, how we can learn, and how we can lead. And it's very, very promising to see young people like yourselves, and very promising to have been contacted by Teo to say, please, would you be able to be part of this conversation so that we can understand what our responsibility is towards leading and creating a better world. If we look beyond the numbers, climate change is not just environmental, it's social. How do we interact with this? It's economic. What is the balance between profits and looking after this beautiful world that gives us those crops that we are able to then make a living or do business with? And it's also that human balance between the earth and ourselves and how we live. It's about food, it's about jobs, it's about dignity. And so again, how are we able to disrupt what is happening right now? I want to point out some of the pictures, and I'm very aware that some of you may live in a very urban environment, and some of you may be between the urban and also the rural. And so they are very different realities. But what we've got to ask ourselves is, what is the potential from where we are? And we'll go into that now. If we stop for a moment and we look at, as Africans contribute to less than 4% of global emissions, but we bear the most impact. And so what does this mean? It means that despite our small contribution to global emissions that contributes to global warming affects Africa the most, 70% in fact. And so the world's future sustainability depends on Africa's ability to thrive. You'll see in the infographic there, global warming, climates, deforestation, and this affects our daily livelihood. And so the question is, what are we able to do? What are we able to do as individuals? What are we able to do in working with young people to be able to do this? And so I'm sure we've all heard of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and these are 17 goals that the United Nations has come up with, and the plan is that by 2030, we would be able to make a very impactful change if we all consider this. If we look at Africans, strategically, I've identified certain of these 17 development goals that would take us on this journey. And so the one is no poverty. And so we all know that Africa is a very poor country, and there's a lot of history behind that as well. And that's a discussion that we may pick up a bit later, but not particularly part of this slide. We look at zero hunger. Many of the countries are faced with famine. There's not enough food. We look at clean water. There are many projects that I am involved in at the current moment where we look at how are we able to access this clean water? How are we able to allow that every day people have access to clean water? There are many diseases that travel within these water systems, and so there's a big responsibility towards that. We're also looking towards clean energy. We've seen in the last recent years, particularly with fossil fuels, that has been the biggest contributor in adding to global warming. We look at climate action, and climate action is really just looking at what are we doing? What are we doing? What are our personal habits? How are we raising awareness? What are we doing so that we understand what the impact of our actions are, of how we do business, of how we live on the climate? We're looking at life on land, and then we're also looking at partnerships. And so partnerships really is what we share within the school, what we share with LeadGreen Fellowship. How do we interact and engage on social media? What are those partnerships? Which posts are we sharing? How are we creating awareness? And as I was doing some research, I really looked at this relationship between ourselves amongst all of these SDGs. And so if you'd recall, I said that there are 17 SDG goals. And so you'll see there that there's another slide there and it says number 18. And so it really speaks to how aware are we of SDG goals? How aware are we of what we are doing as a person, as a country, as a community? And what is our own personal agency that we are able to exercise in us being a better example, in us trying to make a change? And so by ourselves, everyone in the school and everyone who will listen to this a bit later on, or everyone who we will have conversations about this, we are probably the most important and integral part of the solution for tomorrow. If we look at these policies, what is the connection between the policy and us as people? And so one of the very famous quotes by Arthur Ashe that I am fond of, it's not a matter of looking at what you don't have. It's not a matter of looking at what others has. It's not a matter of saying when we get there we're going to start. It's about now. Where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. And so that's really just central to me in really just doing the work that we do. Remember that change comes with being resourceful. If you look at some of the slides over here, you will see somebody making use of renewable energy with a solar panel and getting water to their crops. If you look at one of the other slides, it's how do we really repurpose plastic? How do we, how can we make something of it? There's been a campaign recently, I don't know if any of you know about it and you can Google this, but eco bricks are something that is made out of plastic bottles. So it's being filled with either sand or other plastic, and buildings are being built from that, furniture is being made from that. And so it's a very resourceful way of repurposing this plastic. The other two, it was projects that I was personally involved in. You can see how just by doing a cleanup in your neighborhood, creating that awareness with young people and allowing them to see that they can be part of change. The last one was a trash bash, and that was really when what we did was we went down to the local beach, cleaned up the beach, and people were surprised to see how much dirt we were able to pick up. And conversations changed. Conversations now was that when they go to the beach or the next time they go to the park, they understand that by not recycling, by not disposing of the dirt in a responsible way, they are adding to this problem, they are adding to this burden that we are placing upon this. If we look at some of the stories of agency, some successful, there are many stories of waste being turned into enterprise. You can see one of the slides, it's a local, I think this slide is a Nigerian who turned plastic into bricks that they used, and you can see it's being used in paving. And so it's really, what does that look like? What are you able to do? How are you able to make money from waste? If we look at renewable sources of energy, you'll see a very rural setting where a solar panel is charging a battery that will later on be used to various other very important devices. And so that's very, very important as a way of practicing clean, green energy. It's also, what is your role as an activist? How are you learning more about what it means to really challenge climate change, and how do we educate ourselves? How do we drive climate education? How do we engage with young people? Is our voice being heard? And so, for example, if you think of how you engage on social media, how much of those engagements, for that matter, is about creating awareness? There may be a local problem in your community, in your country. How are you able to form partnerships with these organizations in extending their call, extending their voice? Be part of organizing something. This very webinar that we're attending right now is one such thing as that has been organized. And I'm very aware that sometimes there are things that are beyond our control that prevents us from attending. And whether it be that we don't have proper access, whether it be that for whichever reason, think out of the box. So, for example, it may be that you have a laptop or you have a cell phone. So what if you join at a community center and you get people who doesn't have access to join a presentation like this, as an example? Alternatively, how are you able to share this opportunity, whether it be on Instagram, on you do an update, you do a post, whether you share it on Facebook, whether you share it on your WhatsApp status? How are you able to use what you've got? Even in this instance here, how are you able to educate yourself out of this? Make some notes, go and Google something and further educate yourself. Be an advocate for change. Again, you will see that water is very important. And so, how are you leading that stewardship towards water, towards accessible water, towards clean water, towards the education and awareness about waterborne diseases for that matter? What I want for you to do right now is to really just reflect. We come from different countries, different backgrounds, and so this response towards climate change is very, very different. And so I'm going to ask you to think about what resource already exists in your country or in your community that can help build sustainability. And so I want you to think about that for a moment. I'm going to put myself on mute, and then we can begin to share that in a minute or two. And I'm going to ask that you unmute yourself and you share on the mic. We'll give it a moment or two just for you to gather your thoughts. As soon as you are ready, I welcome you to unmute yourself, and you can share one or two examples of what you are already doing. I'm sure that all of you have something that you are able to contribute. You've seen something. Akanji, thank you for your hand. Unmute.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Although I didn't join on time, I'm so sorry for coming late.
No worries.
But so what I've been doing, I've been
I think we've lost you there for a moment. Could you repeat that?
it was network issue. So I've been
Okay.
moving around different community, educating them about their general health and creating awareness about some many diseases. But I got interest in environmental health. If you know Ibadan or your state, I've been seeing some places in Ibadan, your state, so dirty. There is poor waste management. Whenever I'm traveling and I see waste in the environment, I always thought of the way out, how to convert all these things to something meaningful. There is a woman that is doing this thing in Abuja. Even I've been planning to reach out to her to learn about how she managed to turn all those waste into something meaningful. She's making bags from waste, sachet water, all these waste that people disposed. So those things have been challenging for me, but I don't know how to go about it because Ibadan is a very big community. Are you with me, sir? So it is a very big city in Oyo State. So, but I'm thinking I'm a final year public health student. I'm thinking of using it as my project topic and actually making a meaningful contribution to the community. So I this is what I've been experiencing, what is in my community, and I've been looking into it. I want to do something meaningful about educating people and creating awareness about their healthcare.
Thank you so much. We'll respond shortly. I think I just want to take some more reflections as well. And I see there's a hand. Um, is it? I see your name as Praises. Would you like to go ahead?
Hi, praise God. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In my community, we have already started the recycling of waste into biochar. I don't know if any of you know what is biochar. We have already started working on that, and then also in reducing, in fighting deforestation. And in the rural areas where I stay, there's no way that you can eliminate the use of firewood. And then we have to create a way to decrease the cutting down of trees. Now we now introduce what we call a biomass stove. This biomass stove uses we save 80% of firewood and makes use of 20%, in the sense that we cannot totally eliminate deforestation, but we can reduce the cutting down of trees just to increase afforestation and fight climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Praises, if I could ask you to put your comments and maybe even your question in the chat. There were parts that weren't too clear, and so I do want to give your comment the acknowledgement, the attention that it deserves. Be so kind. Okay. I don't know if.
Okay,
Thank you. I don't know
I should
if
just
there's
write down suggestion on the chat.
perfect. Thank you, Praises.
Okay.
Oh, I think we have time for one more. Is there anyone who would like to share some of their reflections? Wonderful. So I'm going to begin to speak to what Akanji had shared with us. And I think that, what you're doing is admirable to create awareness about health, and to also go a little bit further and understand where the cause may be. And in this instance, as you said, waste management. And when waste management is not being managed or done in the responsible manner, especially when it's close to water systems and water sources, one of the ways that the quality of that water will be compromised. The things that, as you have mentioned, is to see who else is doing a similar role, or which of the organizations, the individuals are doing the same. And I think what is wonderful now is that it's very easy for you to be able to see this. And so, for example, Teo had reached out to me on LinkedIn, which was very easy, and so many years ago that would not have been possible. And so, with individuals who are champions where this is concerned, or organizations, it's as easy as following them on their social media accounts, uh, inboxing them, explaining to them what you're doing, um, asking them to be part of this. And I promise you that you're probably going to get a very positive response. You're also able to create awareness by regularly informing people via social media. Remember that education is the one way that we are able to change. And think of smart ways of doing it. AI is there, there's lots of templates. And so you are able to then say, you know, this is the cause of these diseases. This is how we can prevent some of the causes of these diseases. This is how we are able to recycle some of the plastics and waste that we're using. This is maybe some of the better ways, the more responsible ways that we can dispose of these materials. And when we create awareness, then people tend to become part of the solution rather than part of the pollution. And so even that is a very important part we spoke about before. I'm going to go quickly to the chat, and if not now, we can always come to the comment left. Okay, there we go. And so I'll read the comment from Nelly. We're building capacity of community women on climate change, impact, and how this is adversely impacting women due to the environmental pollution we are experiencing in the Niger Delta region in Nigeria. We increase capacity of women on afforestation, tree planting, and forest conservation. And wonderful, you know, Niger Delta is a very delicate system. And, you know, impact at that level and awareness at that level is really, really important for us to be able to change that and turn the tide. Praises, thank you very much. We already started teaching people how to convert waste to biochar, and also introducing the use of biomass so reduce deforestation and increase afforestation. This is because rural areas will all want to make use of firewood to cook. Then we have to start from the little things we think that don't matter to the big ones, introducing a stove to help them to cook. Wonderful. Thank you, Nelly, for that acknowledgement. And definitely, you know, if we're looking at cooking, it's an everyday activity. How are we able to change the way that we use wood, which is needed? And so I don't know if you are aware, but there's a South African product. It's called a Wonder Bag. And what this Wonder Bag is, it's a very big bag that is insulated. And so in villages where they were dependent on fossil fuels, they would now only need one pipe. And so the Wonder Box is insulated too. Wonderful. I think it would then work in a very similar fashion. And so you'd have to use less wood, only one fire, and you really use that wood. So wonderful on that. Praises, you've got your hand raised. Would you like to unmute?
Yes, I wanted to share in the biomass stove uses pieces of firewood. So in the sense that when they are to use maybe a bunch of firewood for a 1 day meal, they can actually use that one bunch for a whole week because the stove uses a little pieces of the firewood, and then there's a wonder box that is insulated in the sense that your food doesn't get done on the stove. It completes its cooking inside the wonder box, reducing the use of the firewood also. And then it's kind of smokeless because you use dry firewood, so it doesn't emit too much smoke that goes up to the sky and disturbs our ozone
Wonderful.
layer. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And that is really the type of innovation, and that is really the type of awareness that will be about climate change. And so again, you know, share some information, go onto Google, go online, see how you can be innovative in offering a solution to quite a lot of these things. We'll carry on with the presentation for now, and I hope that we'll have some time for more engagement a bit later. If we look at systems and solidarity, okay, by ourselves, we cannot really do much. And this is an African proverb. So if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so it's really, again, how do we build these communities across borders that we are able to begin these conversations? How are we able to create this awareness? And so we may have in Namibia or Zimbabwe or Zambia may be very similar to the problems that we have in South Africa. But what are some of the innovative ways that we are creating awareness, adding to advocacy, or some of the practical ways that we are innovating how we are doing everyday tasks? Climate change is our shared test. And so how are we collectively supporting each other in this? We speak about collaboration in action, and so partnerships is really SDG goal number 17. And so regional youth networks like this one, okay, this crosses borders is very, very important in us making change. And so I'm going to continue to ask you to try and arrange some of these regional networks. Try and have conversations about what are you able to do when it comes to being a steward for water, water safety, preventing waterborne diseases, preventing our water systems from becoming polluted, from using efficient and innovative ways of cooking food that does not add to the global warming and deforestation. If we look at community academic collaborations, who are the area? What are they doing? What sort of advocacy programs are they helping to put together? And how are we adding to the awareness and education? Faith-based is so important. If we do not have these conversations at our church services, at our mosques, at our places of worship, then we are not worshiping. Worship is central to the place that we inhabit. It is our faith that we look after the place we in. If we look at cultural frameworks, our cultures have been preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years. We as a culture are not asking the right questions, then we are not adding to the preservation of this very culture that we continue to preserve and to pass down to other generations. And so as we get to the end of the presentation, we ask ourselves, what is the call to action? Previously, I mentioned the quote from Arthur Asher, don't wait for one day when you get there. Don't wait for one day when you have the resources. Start where you are right now. Use what you have, do what you can. So if you see somebody on social media, reach out to them because that's what you can do. If you see somebody, some organization posting about what they've done, then reach out to them because that's what you can do. The next thing I want to leave you with is a question and a challenge. What one thing will you do in the next 30 days so that you can be better at being a champion to try and save this planet, to try and positively add? If we look at some of the key takeaways that we've shared, climate change, it is human. It depends on our interaction with this world and with this earth that we live in. Africa's solutions are local. And so who you are, where you live, you have the ability to be able to bring local change, localized change, create local awareness. Act on your agency. Bridge awareness and action. And so the first step would really be to identify what the problem is. And the next step would be practically, how are we able to link that to action? What does it mean for cleaning our water systems? What does it mean for balancing deforestation by planting trees and creating the awareness thereof and the importance thereof? Remember, as we mentioned earlier on, collaboration multiplies impact. And so even just in this presentation, Theo, I do want to say that it's not the amount of people who show up, but it's the impact of the effort. And so you've made the effort, we've made the effort, all of us are here. And so from here, we continue to make the effort where we change the conversation that we have. In the work that I do, there's one thing that I always remind young people, and that is that when we change the conversation, we change the role models. And that's what we're doing here. And when we change the role model, we change the community. And so we are all part of that change. We've also got to hope, because hope is necessary in imagining that we are able to contribute to a better tomorrow, to a better world where we have reduced climate, global warming that is responsible for all of this impact. And so that brings me to the end of my presentation here. I want to thank you for being here. I want you to for engaging. And I also at this point in time want to open up the floor for questions or engagement. And so I'm going to hand back to you, Theo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was a very fantastic presentation. I mean, a very clear one. Thank you so very much. I don't know if anybody has one or two questions you want to ask. I mean, it would be very cool that you ask your question now. If you're unclear about anything, just you can unmute yourself and speak. Ask your question. The floor is yours. It's a gathering of young people, right? So, I mean, there should be one or two questions, just to clarify if you got the message. One question, one question. Okay, okay. If there's no question, I mean, Ahmad, thank you so very much for joining our section today. I'm super excited. We are super excited. You join and share your knowledge and share some of the impactful things that I feel like the young people can do. It's a pleasure to have you. Is there any one word you want to leave with the young people? Like just one statement that you want to leave with the young people, as takeaway? Just something that you feel like, you want to share with them just in one word.
Definitely. I'm going to take just a little bit more than one word. We look at the chat or interest. The interest was that between Nelly, where she's asking, Praise, I would like to know how you're doing this wonder box. And so if we just look at that question, it really says that the power for change is just in amongst the few of you that is in this meeting. And so again, share the different ways that you're doing things, share the different ways that you're innovating, and how this is adding to us creating a positive change in this world. Thank you very much.